The captains are in huge trouble. Now with the official release of Black Clover Chapter 318 has now arrived. As promised, it's time for us to break down the chapter. Now, if you are unfamiliar with this type of content, this is where I go into deep analysis of certain details that happened in the chapter that I did not talk about in my chapter review, or just didn't talk too much about. And if you've been following this channel for a while now, you will know that this is something I've been doing since 2020 and early 2021, but a lot of you guys been asking for the chapter breakdowns to come back, and they are here to stay. So if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe if you are new, and let's get started. Now, one thing to point out in the start of this chapter with the interaction between Libra and Lucifero, which is something that we have been waiting for. However, the dialogue between these two, it did not go exactly how we visioned. Because in my chapter review, I mentioned that this dialogue exchange was very funny to me because it reminded me of Avengers Endgame when Wanda told Thanos that you took everything from me, and Thanos responded, "I don't even know who you are." This scene reminded me of it. However, I did not talk about why Lucifero chose to not acknowledge this when Libra brought it up. Libra brought up that he was the one that killed Lucita. Now, of course, Lucifero, it makes sense for him not to remember Lucita because when he killed Lucita, it's not like Lucita exchanged names with him. Lucifero stated his name, but Lucita didn't just go, "Hey, I'm Lucita, by the way." No, that didn't happen. So, of course, he doesn't remember that name, but I'm pretty sure he remembers the event. But given Lucifero's character, I think that he responded perfectly. His reasons for not knowing Libra was like, why would I know you when you don't have a single shred of magic? It's a prime example that he only acknowledged those who he seemed as equal or have power, which most likely are the Supreme Devils. Now, I gave Asta his credit in my chapter review, him being able to withstand President of the Demon King in base form, but I didn't talk about of what he said, which is very important. In the official release, Asta states that Luciferos magic is astronomical. Everybody is gonna, and that's when he stopped. And we already know what that last line was going to be. He was going to say everybody is going to die. However, for Asta to know this is a big deal because Asta cannot feel magic. He cannot sense magic. However, he can sense the key. When Nama and Lilith, when they fused their powers together, Noct went crazy. He said that that wasn't even a 1+1 power-up when they fused. Asta, on the other hand, states that you're probably incredible and awesome and all, but I can't really tell because I can't sense magic at all. And he wasn't sweating, he wasn't worried, he was still ready to fight. But in Lucifero's case, this man is sweating, and he even states that this man's magic is astronomical. He can't sense magic, but he can sense the danger of Lucifero, knowing that everybody is going to die just by the pressure of his gravity. This is unfamiliar territory. However, Libra tells Asta that, man, I have to defeat this guy. So Asta does not back down. Now, when Asta went in his Devil Union form, ready to face off Lucifero, Noct screams out to Asta saying, "Don't be stupid." Now, I get why Noct would say something like this. They are fighting the strongest devil, despite the fact that he is only halfway manifested. And he's telling Asta, don't be stupid, because there is nothing that anyone can do to stop this guy. However, Noct gotta understand that Asta does not care. He's going to face the odds. That is just the Black Bulls in general, and I think that Noct, he hasn't adopted that mindset yet because he hasn't been around the Black Bulls like that. Even though Noct believes that Asta cannot win, and I'm pretty sure Asta believes that, they do not give up though. This is a whole mindset for the squad. We saw with Noelle when she told Megikila in chapter 300, she said, "It's not as if we can win as long as we don't give up. However, if we give up, we'll definitely never win." And that is what Asta is doing here. Now, when Asta swung his sword at Lucifero, we see that he teleported. We see the little warping bubble that is floating on top of the panel, which is the exact same thing that Dante was doing, using gravity to warp space by teleporting. And even though Lucifero's teleportation is extremely fast, we saw that Asta, he was still able to keep up with him as far as his sight. We saw the indication of that on the bottom left panel where Asta's eyes are following the next direction that Lucifero is going to appear, which this is Asta using his ki to a higher degree, which was infused with anti-magic, which he started to use magic tracking, which is something that he has always been able to do, because anti-magic is like a magnet to powerful magic. Now, when Dante was teleporting, warping space, Asta was still able to read Dante's movements to the point where he was telegraphing where he was going to move. That's why he was able to cut him. He couldn't do this to Lucifero. Now, while this is happening, the Second Gate Devil is so funny to me because he is just sitting, chilling, having a good time, popcorn out, commentating the fight, floating on a rock, unbothered, best seat in the house. And I didn't even talk about this in my chapter review because I didn't even realize it. I had no idea that this man was floating on a rock. So President of the Demon King is going rampant everywhere, but the Second Gate Devil, he's unbothered by this, so it says a lot about his power. Now let's acknowledge the most goofiest moment probably in this entire arc so far, and it was the moment where Lucifero, not when he grabbed Asta's sword, because yeah, he had grabbed Asta's sword. I talked about how that reminds me of a Bleach moment where Aizen grabbed Ichigo's. However, Lucifero did something which was quite silly. When he grabs Asta's sword, he slid his finger down purposely to see can Asta actually harm him. Can anti-magic be a threat to him? And he finds out, he cuts himself with it and he sees like, oh, there's a little blood bubble. However, his reaction was just, it was silly because I start to question if Lucifero has anger issues, because once he figure out that Asta can harm him, he gets mad at Asta and says, how dare you, and punch Asta to oblivion. Now, this is very silly to me because how you get mad at Asta when you purposely cut yourself? It was hilarious, but I get it because there's a metaphor to this. This just didn't harm Lucifer's finger. This harmed his pride. To know that there is something out there that can harm him, that exists, he cannot accept this. That is Lucifer in a nutshell. It goes hand to hand with Lucifer in the Bible that his pride is the reason why he fell. Because when God made men in his image, he could not accept that. Something that is greater than him, he refused. And that is the situation between Asta and Lucifero. Now, when Lucifero sent Asta flying, we see that Vanessa, she's crawling on the ground. She said that Rogue's power saved them somehow, but we did not see all the other Black Bulls. We just see her and she's crawling to Yami. We didn't see anyone else, so I will assume that Rogue saved everyone that was around that Black Bull's hideout. However, she did mention that if Lucifero was to get a little closer, they will be crushed. Now, it's something that she said about Lucifero that I start to notice that there is a parallel between Lucifero and Asta. She said Lucifero, just by existing, he forces all creation to his knees. It's very funny that she is the one that said this between this parallel, because the Witch Queen, her mother, says something about Asta that is quite similar. She said in Asta's presence, all magic is meaningless. But in Lucifero's case, his existence forced creation to their knees. Asta and Lucifero are both outliers in the world of magic. In Asta's presence, magic is meaningless. But in Lucifero's presence, creation is meaningless. Asta has finally met his match, but in terms of symbolism, not in power, because Asta has a long way to go. Now, when the captains, they come in to help Asta at the end, this is a huge turning point, because at the end of the chapter, you notice that Real is already creating Twilight of Valhalla. Now, why is Twilight Valhalla so important? Why is Real so important at this battle? Because every other captain is very important in this battle, but why Real? Why Real in particular? Well, it's because all Real's allies that are within Twilight Valhalla, they get a boost of magic power if they are within his range. No matter how much damage they take, they won't die until Real runs out of magic. So, while this is happening, the entire time they are invincible to Lucifero. Maybe. This spell only lasts a few minutes though, and once the spell is done, all the damage they receive will be in full effect. So, this could go really, really bad, because they're going to be doing a lot against Lucifero. They're going to be taking some crazy amount of damage. And once this spell is deactivated, how can they all be healed at once? Mimosa? It's not happening, because let's not forget the second gate devil is fully manifested. So if he doesn't step in, he's not going to allow Mimosa to heal people on the battlefield. That's not realistic. Most likely Mimosa can't even get up. So the captains have to rely on this few minutes of Real spell, because Real is key here. He is the #1 key for the captains to contend a long period of time to fight against Lucifero. Now, can they harm the devil's heart? Because they can harm him, but can they harm his heart? Can they destroy it? I'm not quite sure. Like, maybe if Regolion had Saint Stage, but that has yet to be seen. Maybe he'll be able to achieve it under Real spell. I'm not quite sure, but I think the captains will all fight together, and will make an opening for Asta, just like with Yami and Dante. When Yami told Asta to join the fight and made an opening to kill Dante, well, try to kill him. And I think that's going to happen here, but we got to see next chapter, because Real's Twilight Valhalla spell has a timer. How long would it last? Just like how long did it last you to stay on this video to the very end and not subscribe to the channel yet, with notification bells on to see more Black Clover content from me right to YouTube feed, right? Check out my other anime and manga content. You guys have an awesome life. Take care of yourselves. Stay blessed, and we're out.